Picture this. You walk into a room feeling fantastic. Great outfit, great hair, fresh coffee, life is working. Then you notice someone staring at you. Not a friendly glance. Not a hey, what's up? No, the kind of stare that makes you suddenly question every decision you've made since birth. You smile awkwardly. They keep staring. You turn around, and suddenly you're on the floor. Your coffee is everywhere. Your phone is broken, and your dignity has left the building. And somewhere deep inside your brain comes a very old thought. They cursed me. For thousands of years, people across different cultures have believed that someone's gaze or their envy could somehow bring you misfortune. The details change from culture to culture, but the basic idea is remarkably similar. Someone looks at you with envy, and something bad happens. So today we're going to ask a slightly different question. Not, is the evil eye real? But why does the evil eye feel so real? And to answer that, we're going to need biology, psychology, game theory, probability, and a little mathematics. Because it turns out your brain is extraordinarily good at turning coincidence into causation. Let's start with something genuinely weird about humans. Look at your eyes. That white part is your sclera. And compared with many other animals, humans have remarkably visible sclera. That makes something incredibly useful very easy to detect: where you're looking. If I look over there, you can probably tell immediately. You don't need me to point. You don't need me to say anything. Your visual system is constantly extracting information from faces, eyes, and body position. And that's incredibly useful if you're a social animal. Because knowing where someone is looking can tell you things like, are they paying attention to me? Are they watching a threat? Did they notice the food? Are they interested in that person? Or are they judging my terrible haircut? But here's where it gets interesting. When someone stares directly at you, your brain doesn't treat that information as neutral. Direct gaze can increase attention and physiological arousal. In other words, your brain notices. Your brain cares. And suddenly, you're much more aware of yourself. How am I standing? What am I doing with my hands? Do I look weird? Why are they looking at me? And now you're thinking about thinking, which is not particularly useful when you're trying to carry a full cup of coffee. So perhaps the first ingredient of the evil eye isn't magic, it's attention. Someone looks at you, your brain notices, your body reacts, and now you're much more likely to remember whatever happens next. Now let's go back thousands of years. Because here's something fascinating. Ancient philosophers actually debated how vision worked. One family of theories suggested something called extramission. The basic idea was that vision involved something coming out of the eyes. Basically, ancient Greek laser vision. Okay, not literally lasers, but the general idea was that the eyes played an active role in seeing. Other theories proposed the opposite, that something from the object entered the eye. Eventually, our understanding of optics and vision became much more sophisticated. Today, we know that visible light from the environment enters your eye, gets focused onto the retina, and is converted into neural signals. No magical eye beams required. But there's a fascinating little twist. Your body really does emit electromagnetic radiation. Because you're warm. Everything above absolute zero emits thermal radiation. Your body emits infrared radiation continuously. So yes, your face is technically glowing right now. But before you start telling people you have superpowers, the thermal radiation coming from your body is not a mystical beam of intention. And there is no evidence that someone's evil thoughts are being transmitted through infrared radiation. So physics does not rescue the evil eye. But physics does give us something much more interesting: the ability to separate what feels plausible from what is actually happening. Now we get to something even more interesting. Why is the evil eye so often associated with envy? Think about life in a small ancient community. You have limited food, limited land, limited wealth, limited opportunities, and everybody knows everybody. Then your neighbor suddenly has an enormous harvest, or a beautiful new house, or more livestock, or, in modern terms, a suspiciously expensive car. You might be happy for them, but you might also think, why them? And that's where social comparison enters the story. Humans constantly compare ourselves with other people, and other people's success can tell us something about our own position in a social hierarchy. This creates a fascinating social problem. If openly displaying your success generates envy, you have an incentive to appear less threatening. And this is where beliefs surrounding the evil eye become socially interesting. Think of it as an ancient version of, yeah, I got lucky, but I'm not showing off. In different cultures, people developed customs involving humility, modesty, blessings, protective symbols, or rituals after receiving good fortune. And here's the important distinction. We're not saying people consciously invented these beliefs as a mathematical strategy. Human cultures are far too complicated for that. But social norms can serve useful functions even when nobody explicitly designed them. And that brings us to game theory. Imagine two neighbors. Each has a harvest. If you boast about having twice as much food as your neighbor, you might gain status. But you might also create resentment. Your neighbor now has information. You have more resources. And that can change their behavior toward you. So there's a social trade-off. Showing success can bring status and influence, but it can also bring envy and conflict. From a game theory perspective, signaling wealth can have benefits and costs, and humans developed all kinds of cultural rules around managing those costs. Don't brag too much. Share. Be modest. Give credit to luck. Deflect praise. And in many cultures, protect yourself from envy. The evil eye belief may therefore be doing something psychologically and socially interesting. It gives people a story for why excessive attention or envy feels dangerous, and the protective ritual gives them something they can do about it. That's important, because humans don't just want explanations. We want control. Okay, this is where things get properly nerdy. Let's say you're having a normal week. Things happen. You lose your keys, you spill coffee, you get a weird email, your internet stops working, you stub your toe. These events aren't necessarily connected, but here's the strange thing. Random events can form clusters. Imagine 30 days on a calendar. Now randomly place a few annoying events across those 30 days. You might expect them to spread out nicely, one here, one there, one over there. But that's not how randomness works. Sometimes several events land close together. And when they do, your brain immediately goes, there. That's the pattern. And this is where human intuition can get us into trouble. Because randomness does not mean that events must be evenly spaced. Randomness can look surprisingly organized. Let's make this concrete. Suppose there's a 10% chance of experiencing an annoying event on any given day. Over 30 days, the expected number of annoying days is 30 times 0.1. That's 3. So you'd expect about 3 annoying days in a month. Now imagine that 3 of them happen close together. Your brain might see bad thing, bad thing, bad thing, and construct a story. Something caused this. But probability doesn't require a cause. Sometimes, the cluster is the pattern. And this is where the evil eye becomes psychologically powerful. Someone looks at you. Then your phone breaks. Then you spill your coffee. Then you get bad news. Suddenly you have 3 things: a person, a look, a sequence of events. Your brain loves connecting those dots. And your brain evolved to detect patterns because patterns are useful. If you hear rustling in the bushes, you don't want your brain to calmly calculate. There's a 47% probability that this is a predator. You want? Move. Evolution doesn't reward perfect philosophical skepticism. It rewards useful predictions. And that creates an interesting problem. A system that's very good at detecting real patterns will sometimes detect patterns that aren't actually there. This is sometimes described as apophenia, the tendency to perceive meaningful connections or patterns in unrelated things. And once you have a possible explanation, another cognitive phenomenon can strengthen it: confirmation bias. Think about 2 situations. Someone stares at you, and nothing happens. You probably forget about it. But someone stares at you, and then your phone breaks. You remember that forever. Why? Because the second story is dramatically better. Your brain doesn't store every moment of your life with equal importance. It compresses, it searches for meaning, it remembers unusual coincidences, and it builds narratives. So if you already know the evil eye story, a coincidence can suddenly become evidence. Now let's go back to our unfortunate coffee incident. Someone stares at you. Your attention shifts. You become self-conscious. You make a mistake. Then several unrelated annoying things happen. Your brain sees the sequence. And because humans are spectacular pattern detection machines, it starts looking for a cause. Then culture hands you a ready-made explanation: the evil eye. And suddenly, A completely ordinary sequence of events feels supernatural. But here's the really fascinating part. The lesson isn't simply, the evil eye is fake. The deeper lesson is this: you don't need supernatural forces to create a supernatural feeling experience. Your eyes can trigger attention, your emotions can change your behavior, social comparison can create tension, random events can cluster, and your brain can turn all of it into a story. So the next time someone gives you a terrifying stare, don't panic, don't blame the universe, and definitely don't throw away your coffee. Because the most powerful thing in the room might not be their eyes. It might be your brain trying desperately to explain what just happened. And honestly, that's a lot more interesting than magic. Although, I'm still blaming them for the coffee. If you enjoyed this, subscribe for more strange questions where ancient beliefs collide with science, mathematics, and the wonderfully weird human brain. And tell me, what's a superstition you grew up believing?